Hello there, Billy Angel here, your storyteller. And guess what? I got a great story for you today. Today's story is about David's rise to fame and power as one of the king's commanders, and then his fall from power, and then eventually his rise back up to become the king of the Hebrews. Now that story is going to take me a few episodes. Great story. David has beaten Goliath. It has been an amazing moment in Hebrew history, a turnaround. I tell you what, King Saul was in big trouble. The Philistines all of a sudden came into his land with their army and put themselves there in the valley of Elah. That is a long, wide valley, about half a mile wide, and this army was going to confront the Hebrews. So Saul had no choice. He had to bring his army into the same valley to face the Philistines. Saul has about 3,000 soldiers who work for him, standing army. For the rest, he depends on volunteers, farmers from up and down the country. He puts the word out, and they come. They bring their farmer gear to fight the Philistines. Wow, the Philistines are bigger army, well equipped, well trained. They have these battle axes, they have swords, they have javelins. They are powerful. So Saul is in trouble in any case. And then on this particular occasion, the Philistines all of a sudden produce a champion. This giant of a man. I mean, he's double the size of any other man. He's got this huge sword. He's got a javelin as big as a tree trunk. I mean, he is massive. And he is shouting at the Hebrews, "Oh, you pigs, you little dogs, you this, you that. Where is your champion?" So I guess the Hebrews are supposed to produce a champion who's going to fight this man. The idea is that whichever champion wins, that side has won the battle. Oh! I mean, this is all new. Saul was never expecting that. And none of the Hebrews dare face this giant. So Saul is talking to his commander, Abner, "You got to fight me a man, this size. Come on now. There must be someone in our land." "Oh, sir, we were searching everywhere. There just isn't. This man is unbelievably big." So Saul is in trouble. None of the soldiers want to fight Goliath. His son, Jonathan, offers to fight Goliath. The Saul says, "Absolutely not. Come on, he's twice your size. He has 10, 20 years of experience above you. He'll kill you in 2 minutes flat." And so every morning, these two armies line up, ready for battle, and then this giant, this Goliath, comes out and he insults the Hebrews, and he insults their God. Now, the Hebrew soldiers, those who volunteer here, most of them have farms, and it is harvest time. And they're all very keen to get back to their farms and their family. They got to bring in the harvest. They just can't let the harvest go to waste in the land. So they are itching to get out, and Saul is afraid that any day now they're just going to desert him. And this giant is just shouting his abuse. Morale on the Hebrew side is this low. Any day now, the Philistines are just going to come and destroy this side. Saul has a huge problem. What's he going to do? And then David turns up. Now, why would David be here? His father sent him here with the family donkey full of food items for his brothers. He's got 3 brothers who are volunteering here in the king's army, and they need food. So his father says, "Come on, you take the donkey there with all the food. Here's some sausages, bread, cornbread, there's figs, there's fruit, there's a chunk of meat, for your brothers and for their commander." And David gets here just when Goliath has appeared. He hears the man shout his abuse. David gets all incensed. And cutting a long story short, David comes out to face this giant. Now, David doesn't have a sword, doesn't have a spear. All he has is a stick and a sling. But he knows what he is doing. On the other side, there is Goliath with his massive spear, his javelin, and his sword. And he sees this Hebrew kid coming out. Ha! Oh, you brought your stick? You think you're going to hit me with your stick? Yeah, you come a little closer, and I'll pierce this javelin right into you. I'll give you to the birds. Now, David also speaks some stern words to this Philistine. And he says, my God is going to give you to me. We are going to have the victory. You cannot insult us and not pay the price. I'm going to kill you. Well, the giant is not believing him. He's coming closer. He needs to be close enough to throw his javelin. David is swinging his sling, and he sends the stone flying. And the stone flies across the valley, is headed for the giant's forehead. Now the giant, Goliath, is moving forward. He's getting ready to throw his javelin. And then the stone hits the skin and the skull and sinks deep inside. Boom! Whoa! Now the man's body still has some momentum going forward, but his feet stop walking. And suddenly he just hits the ground face forward. He's down. David quickly runs to him, grabs the sword that's on the giant's belt, pulls it out of the sheath. He brings the sword up above the man's neck and then just brings it down with speed. Boom! The head rolls away. David grabs the head by the hair and holds it up and shows it to the Philistines. The Philistines are horrified. Their champion is obviously dead. Then David turns around and shows the head to the Hebrews. And then he goes, victory! And all the Hebrews, they respond and they all go, victory! And then that whole Hebrew army, as one man, come running into the valley, headed for the Philistines. The Philistines are horrified. They all drop their weapons, their battle axes, their swords, their clubs. Everything just gets dropped. They turn around and run for their lives. Well, the Hebrews quickly pick up all those weapons and chase the Philistines, kill half of them, and the rest of them just escape. It is a great victory for the Hebrews. Saul is hugely relieved. What looked like a big disaster has turned into a triumph. Whoa! So David still stands there in the field or in the valley with the head of Goliath in his hand. And then Abner comes up to him. Wow! Good action, son. That was pretty remarkable. Well done. Let me take you to the king. Come with me. So the two of them walk to the king's camp, to the Hebrew camp. The king has just arrived in his tent, and he comes out. And Abner says, Your Majesty, the giant slayer. And David makes one step toward the king, and he drops Goliath's head on the ground, plop, right in front of the king. So Saul stands there looking at this David. Well done, young man. Well done. Abner, let me talk to you. So the two of them just walk away a little bit. Abner, what shall we do with this kid? Any suggestions? Well, Your Majesty, he's obviously brilliant. I mean, great hand-to-eye coordination. He's quite the sportsman. I mean, and he is absolutely fearless. I'd love him in the army, if that's okay with you. Yeah, I think we can do that. And that'll be a good place to keep an eye on him. Today he can come with me. Tomorrow he's all yours, Abner. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, Abner, I want you to make sure that the troops go to the Philistine camp. We've got to make sure we take everything they have left there. And there's a couple other things. So while the king and Abner are still talking, Jonathan, the king's eldest son, arrives in the camp. He goes, David, that was amazing. That was great action, wonderful action. My, how did you do it? That was just brilliant. Thank God he sent you here. Thank God you just killed that giant. All of a sudden, the whole thing turned around. Whoa. So, David and Jonathan talk. These two are like two peas in a pot. How do you put it? They get on really well. They understand each other. They're both quite athletic. They both love the outdoors. David in his early 20s, Jonathan in his sort of late 20s, and they got a lot to share. And there's a friendship being formed right there. Then Jonathan says, hang on, David, wait here. Let me just go talk to my father. And he's off. In that moment, there is 3 other guys arrive at the camp. David, brilliant work. Well done, baby brother. It is David's 3 brothers, Eliab, Abinadab, and Shammah. And they congratulate him. And these brothers are hugging and talking and laughing. And they're so relieved. And wow, that was such good action. Yeah, you would do that, wouldn't you? And da-da-da-da-da-da. And then they realize they're actually free to go home. The battle has been won. The job is done. They can actually go home. And they're delighted that David brought their father's donkey so they can put all their gear on the donkey and then just walk home. They'd be home well before dark. And so the 4 brothers are setting off to go. But then there is a voice. David, hang on, David. It's Jonathan. Hey, you cannot be leaving. You're coming with us. No. You're working for the king now. No, it's been decided. You're coming with us. You better say goodbye to your friends. What? Your brothers? Oh, well, say goodbye to your brothers. You're coming this way. And so David is having to say goodbye and return to the king's camp. Now, this camp is being taken down really quickly. There's the king's tent, there's other tents, provisions, tents for weapons, and all kinds of tents with gear and stuff. There's a few horses and carts there, and all the stuff gets loaded up on the carts. It goes really fast. They've done this before plenty of times. And then the king climbs on his horse, so does Abner. There's other commanders on their horses. David can sit on a cart. Jonathan is on his horse. And that whole royal party set off, headed for Gibeah, the king's compound where the king lives. And so people come out of their villages into the street to applaud the king and the commanders. Bravo, bravo, long live the king, long live the king. And then you can already hear some people go, David, David, David. Wow, the word is spread fast. Yeah, that shepherd boy from Bethlehem, barely 20 years old, he beat the giant. Whoa, he is brilliant. He is amazing. He saved the day. David, David. And so this party is on its way to Gibeah. When they get there, the king comes off his horse. They all come off their horses. The doors are wide open. Personnel has come outside. They're all applauding. Long live the king. And then this royal party enters the king's house. Let's call it a house. And there they are in a reception room. And there is the queen, Ahinoam, and the rest of the royal family, 2 princesses and another 2 princes. There's personnel there, Abner and Jonathan. They're all here. And then drinks are being given out, and the king is going to give a toast. So the king does a little speech. He says, well, it's been another adventure, and the army was brilliant as always, and Abner done a great job, and of course, I have given everybody good instructions. I knew what was coming, and we were on top of it, and this is to the victory, and they cheers and drink. So the king never even mentions David. Never says thank you to God for an amazing turnaround. I mean, a miracle, really. I mean, just hours ago, the king was desperate. It looked like they were going to lose everything. And then this happened. Wouldn't he just want to say, thank you, God, for this miracle? No mention of it. Okay. So then Jonathan says to David, hey, come with me. Let me show you the whole setup here. And I'll show you my house. So Jonathan takes David around, and this is what it looks like. They call it the palace, but it really is the farmhouse. This is where Saul grew up. This is where Jonathan grew up. And when Saul became king, he just put an extension on it, and another extension, and then he started building other houses. And then he needed a house or a building for tax collection. And then his army started building barracks over there. Then he needed bigger kitchens. Then he needed storehouses for all the food and this and that. I mean, it just grew and grew. Jonathan got his own little house, and they put a big wall all the way around all these buildings for protection, with a few gates, and those gates are locked at night. And so Jonathan takes David to his house on the other side of the courtyard, and they go inside, and it's a beautiful place. And Jonathan says, "Here, look, here's a room just for you, your own room, while you're staying here." "Oh, wow, that's brilliant." And David says, "Wow, that's a whole lot better than where I was sleeping before." "What do you mean you're sleeping before?" "Well, you know, when I came to play music for your father, I was in the servant house on the floor." "What? You came here earlier to play music for my father?" "Yeah, I was here for about a month." "Yeah, I never saw you. I didn't see anybody. I was kept in the servant quarter and came to play, and then back there again. And never saw anybody else except for your father, of course." "Wow, that's amazing. I heard there was a musician, so that was you." "Well, this time you get a nice room all to yourself. You're my guest." Brilliant. So everybody gets some refreshments. They'll get some clean clothes and a wash, this and that. And then that evening, the whole family gathers together in the dining room for a grand dinner. I mean, it's a celebration time. There are lots of food, lots of drink. There's some music there. And it's just a wonderful time. Everybody's there. The king in his seat, his wife next to him. Abner on the other side next to the king. There's Jonathan. All the princesses are there. Mirab, the eldest. Oh, she's beautiful. And then there's Michal, the youngest. Oh, she's already eyeing this very handsome David. And David has spotted her. Yeah. Okay, and then Jonathan, of course, and other commanders. They're all there. And I'll tell you what, that evening, everybody wants to talk to David. They're all asking him questions. "So, where are you from?" "Bethlehem." "Oh, Bethlehem, yeah, that's a little village down there, yeah." "And so where did you farm?" "Oh, farmer, okay." "How many brothers?" "You got 8 of you in all?" "Wow, that's amazing, you know." And so what is it? You're actually a shepherd? Well, tell us about that. "So what, you're out there in the wild? Really? You confronted a bear? Wow, that's an amazing story." And so he goes and he goes. And I tell you what, David handles it beautifully. He knows just how to handle that very carefully. He gives answers to all the questions. He tells it as it is. He doesn't try and impress. He doesn't elaborate too much. You know, he cracks a little joke here and there. He keeps himself very humble and simple. He has a question for others at times. It's just perfect. And the whole family fall in love with him. They're all going like, "Wow, this guy is amazing. He's wonderful. He's unique. He's just like one of us already." Except for one man at the table, King Saul. He goes, "Why is he getting all the attention? Why are they asking him all these questions? Why don't they ask me a question? I should be the one telling people. I should be the one that hears the questions. I should be the funniest around here. I should be in the center of the attention. After all, I'm the king. I worked very hard. I put all this together. And what? This kid is stealing the show." The king does not like it at all. Now, the next morning, knock on David's door. There's Jonathan. "Hey, David, come on, let's go hunt. And I want you to teach me the sling." So these two friends, they go out there in the fields, and David's brought his sling, and he's teaching Jonathan how to hit that target. Wow, that is much harder than you think. And then Jonathan teaches David how to, bow and arrow, and they have a practice with a javelin. Oh, a lot of fun. Then they go hunt, see if they can get a hare, maybe a pheasant, partridge, and they're having a wonderful time out there. Until all of a sudden, there's this voice, "Sir Jonathan, sir, David has to come to the king's workroom, play music. He must come immediately." "What? Really? David, did you bring an instrument?" No, I went to see my brothers yesterday, and then I was here. Mind you, I have left an instrument in the servant's house where I was sleeping. Okay, let's see if we can find it. So the two friends are off to the servant's house looking for the instrument. Now the king's room is a good-sized room, medium-sized room. It would hold 20, 30 people. And the room is almost empty, except for in one corner there's the king's throne. It's a wooden chair, a nice, elaborate, comfy chair, and it sits on a plateau, so it's kind of high up. And this is how the king likes to do business. He sits on his throne while everybody else can stand over there. Behind the throne, there's several swords, the king's swords, they hang on the wall here. There is his shield, a beautiful, impressive shield that shows you his status, of course. And then here you got the king's javelin, quite a powerful weapon that stands here in a stand. So David comes in, he's been here before, he knows the score. He sits down, the king is over there, and he starts playing. Now he's a competent player, he knows lots of tunes, he knows them all by heart, so he can just pick something and play it. Slow, fast, happy, sad, he can play quietly, he can break quite sort of agitated, if you like. He can do all kinds of things on his lute, but he also likes to improvise, just sort of let a tune emerge. And it's like he'll have a question to the lute, and then the lute gives him the answer, and then it's going in, and then it comes out, and it's sort of a dialogue, and it's like a movement that goes up and it goes down, and it's just beautiful how the music sort of takes off. And it's almost as if the music is playing David while he is playing the music. Oh, he loves it. He's so good at it. And before you know it, he's forgotten where he is, and the music is just taking off. Beautiful. Now, King Saul, a little grumpy, he's a little miserable today, but I mean, he's like that most days. He's sitting here in his seat. There's no work, there is no business to be done, but he's just hanging out here. Obviously, he's thinking through some stuff like he does. Then on this side here, there's a table and there's some snacks. There's some grape leaves and there's some olives and maybe some baklava. And of course, a mug of wine. And then on this side, there is like a forerunner to the backgammon game on a little table. And one of the guards, who's usually there by the door, is now standing over here to play with the king. And the king makes his move, and then the guard makes his move. And of course, that guard is never going to win. He makes sure he loses. He's very good at making mistakes. The king always wins. It would not be a good idea to have the king lose. You'd probably lose your job, if not your, Okay. Now the king has had David play here before, and it's been good. Scripture says Saul loved David when he first came in. David was well behaved, he kept himself quiet, played great music, and when the king said, hey, do something fast, do something slow, do something up-tempo, do something, David did it all. And then afterwards he just disappeared. Nobody even knew he was there. Nobody mentioned his name. He was just very, quietly kept well out of the way. And the king liked it like that. He liked David so much that he made him his armor bearer. That on occasion, when the king did a sort of a function, an official function somewhere, David would come with him and carry the king's sword, or carry the king's shield, carry the king's bags. In nowadays terms, you would say David was his personal assistant. And Saul was very happy with this young man, his musician. Today is different though. The king sees the shepherd boy sit there and he thinks, yeah, last night you stole the show. You just stole the show. Nobody ever paid any attention to me. Yeah, suddenly this kid is the new hero. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Now the king has been in sort of disturbed moods for quite a while. Really, it all began 2 years ago when Saul and Samuel, the prophet, kind of fell out. They had a few situations where they had words, where they were fighting each other, hefty conversation. And then the last time, they were shouting at each other, and then they fell out. Samuel disappeared, and Saul never saw Samuel again. And Saul is still thinking about it. It was just stupid. It was awful. I mean, the last thing that Samuel said to him was, God is taking the kingdom away from you. He's going to give it to another man, a man better than you. That's what Saul heard Samuel say. Well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not while I'm alive. Absolutely not. What does Samuel know anyway? Samuel appointed me king. Saul is talking to his wife late at night, in their private rooms. And then Saul all of a sudden takes off, about Samuel. Yeah, he appointed me king, and then he tells me what to do. And then he tells me, I got to go and fight Agag, and I got to do this, I got to do that. And then I do all of that, I come back, and it's not good enough. No, I've done too much of this, too little of that. And, like Samuel has any idea what it's like to be in warfare, to gather an army, to go and fight an enemy, to make these journeys, and then to be attacked, and all of this. What does Samuel know? He's just an old man, a prophet. What does a prophet know about running a kingdom anyway? I mean, it's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I'm telling you, Noah, it is just ridiculous. And Noah says, Saul, hang on, please. Don't give me this Samuel rant. You did the whole thing last night. Please, I know. Why don't you try and let it go? Let it go. Samuel is now out of the picture. You're the king. Please, let it go and be the king. Well, Saul is not having it. No, Saul is working on his grudges, and he's building his grudges by the day. So back here in today's situation at the court, Saul says to the soldier here, get out. Yeah. I've had enough. This Samuel just eats me up. This man, he should leave me alone once and for all. He should just curl up and die. That is the best thing to do. Samuel should be out of the picture. I can't stand him. And this is for you, Samuel. Boom! And Saul has thrown the javelin at David. Wow. David is playing here. He's in musical bliss. Out of the corner of his eye, all of a sudden, he can notice all that movement there. There's Saul, the king. He's got the javelin. He's going to throw it. What? And at the very last second, David just flings himself back like this. His instrument is flown across the floor, and the javelin just cuts right over him and slams into the wall. Oh, man. Whoa. I mean, David is the shock of his life. And he's out the room. He goes outside the building, and he's leaning up against the wall. Oh, whoa. That was so close. Oh, man. And then a servant arrives. David, is there a problem? Can I help you, get you something? Yeah. Go get me Jonathan, Prince Jonathan. I need to speak to him. Oh, whoa. And so Jonathan arrives. David tells him, what's just happened? Sorry, Jonathan, but I think I need to go home to my family. Please, may I be excused? I want to go home. And Jonathan says, no, I'm sorry, David, but you can't go home. My father and Abner spoke yesterday. You're going to be in the army. That's already decided. Sorry, you cannot go home. Why don't I take you to Abner right away? And once you're in the army, you're going to be very busy. No more music for the king. We'll find another musician for my father, and you can be in the army. Come on, let me take you. And so Jonathan takes David to Abner, and David is now officially enrolled in the army. And that means he's in for a whole bunch of training. Horseback riding, sword fighting, the javelin, bow and arrow, man-to-man combat. I mean, all kinds of training, you name it, the lot. And David just loves it. He takes to it like a fish to water. Oh, he's away. You give him any weapon, and before you know it, he's good at it. I mean, he learned with his brothers to fight with a stick, and he's very, very good at it. Boom, 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 And so, all the other weapons, a week of training, and he's brilliant. Jonathan spends a lot of time with his friend, and they train together, and they run, and they go here and go there, and Abner is very pleased. He's got a great soldier there who's going to make a terrific career in the army. Before you know it, David is put into a first group of soldiers that is going to confront a Philistine raiding party. And they get there, they kill half the Philistine, the other half runs off, they deal with it. And then there's another party, and there's another, one consignment and another, and just it keeps on growing and getting better and bigger. And then David is involved in a big confrontation with the Philistines, and now he's in charge of 100 men, and now he's in charge of 200 men. It's amazing. And the army just loves him. He's a ferocious fighter. He's fast on his feet. He's a really clear thinker. He's also very good at working together and keeping the other men covered, and and tactics and all of this, and approaching the enemy from behind and this and that. He turns out to be one of their best fighters. And so the time comes where the whole of the Hebrew army is having a confrontation with the Philistines. David is on a horse, Jonathan on a horse. They're all horse riding, and they're going to battle. They have the battle. They are successful. They get the victory. And then afterwards, the royal party heads back to Gibeah, where the king's center is. David is on his horse, Jonathan, after the king, and they ride, and the people come out and they go, "Long live the king, long live the king." The Hebrews are so pleased, and they all go, "David, David, David," yeah. And then all of a sudden there's this group of women, and they go, "Saul has killed his thousands, Saul has killed his thousands, and David has killed his tens of thousands. David has killed his tens of thousands." Saul hears this, and he does not like that at all. He gets very angry. Why should they be singing such a crazy thing? I get 1,000, he gets 10,000. Saul is furious. But on the outside, he's still smiling and waving and doing what you do as a king, keeping up appearances. But that evening, when he's alone with his wife in their private corners, he's telling her what he feels about this. So, they give me 1,000, and the kid, gets 10,000. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The next thing, they're going to give him the kingdom. I tell you what, they're going to give him the kingdom. Yeah, he charms his way everywhere, into the family, now into the army. The Hebrew people, they love him. Nobody pays me any attention anymore. The next thing is he's going to take the throne. That's just crazy. I gotta do something about this. I mean, just ridiculous. Ahinoam says, Saul, it sounds like you're jealous. Me jealous? No, I got to deal with this. The boy's got too lucky. Saul, that cannot be luck. No, God's blessing is with him. Saul, please, count your blessings. Saul, you're the king. You own everything. You're in command of everything. You have a great army, great commanders. They're all faithful to you. You have a wonderful family. Everybody loves you. Saul, you're the man. You're the top of the line. Come on, now be the king. This is just a young man. He's only just up and coming. But Saul is not having it. Oh no, something else. This kid is onto something. He's onto something. And Samuel told me, God would take the throne away from me, give it to another, a man better than me. Well, it's not going to be this kid. I'm going to make sure of that. And so the king builds on his anger, on his resentment. I got to be rid of this kid. I can't cope with this. He's got to go. He's got to go. Somehow got to find a way of getting him out of here. No, send him back to No, I got to get rid of him once and for all. I think I need to kill him. Let the Philistines do it for me. Yes, that's what we'll have. That's what we're going to do. So the king gets his servants to bring David to him. Son of Jesse. Now, you might remember when you beat that giant, I had promised to my army that the man who would kill him would be given a chance to marry the king's daughter. Well, I've decided the time has come. Let's make this happen. You can marry Merab, my eldest. Of course, there is a bridal price. There is a dowry. And so all I want you to do is be successful in 7 campaigns against the Philistines, and then you've earned her hand. Sir, I am deeply honored that you would think of me like that. The only thing is my family are, simple farmers. We have no status, no wealth. How could I haven't got anything to offer you, sir. Besides, isn't Merab already seeing someone? A guy called Adriel? Isn't she seeing him? The two of them are quite close, aren't they? What? No, really? Okay, get out. Go. And the king calls over his servants. He wants to know, what's this about? Merab. Yes, sir. She is quite close with a young man. His name is Adriel. And it's a good match, sir. But listen, sir, Michal is totally in love with David. Yeah, and he's very fond of her, sir. I mean, that would make an excellent... Brilliant. Bring me the shepherd boy. Bring him here. Son of Jesse, plan B. I'll give you Michal's hand. There's just one little thing, a bridal price, the dowry. I want you to kill 100 Philistine soldiers. You do so, you've won her as your bride. David is delighted. He just, wow, marrying Michal would be amazing. She is beautiful, wonderful. They get on really well. So David gets some of his men. They are out there confronting the Philistines. Before you know it, there's a fight with Philistine soldiers. They kill 200 Philistine soldiers, and they bring the proof back to the palace. Well, when the king hears about it, he is so angry. Man! I thought finally we'd get there. Now what? Now he's going to be my son-in-law. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm not going to be there at the wedding. This is just ridiculous. So Ahinoam says, Saul, please, Saul. He is one of your best fighters. He's one of your best commanders. He's a faithful young man. What's more, Michal loves him. He'll be a great husband to her. I don't want to know. The king, man, he's out of it. When Jonathan hears that his best friend is getting married to his sister, he is delighted. So he organizes a big wedding, lots of guests, lots of food, lots of drink, music, and of course, David's whole family is here. It's a big and wonderful day, except the king never shows up. Well, maybe that's just as well. And so at the end of the day, David and his bride, Michal, are given a lovely house that sits right next to Jonathan's house there in the king's compound. And the new couple can start their marriage there. They are delighted. But Saul is working on something else. Saul is just in a deep, dark place, determined to get rid of this shepherd boy. So Saul goes to see Abner in the barracks. Abner, you got to do something for me. Sir, what can I do? This is about that son of Jesse. I want him out of the way. Sir? You mean David? What do you mean out of the way? Out of the way. He's a threat to me, Abner. He's charmed his way into the family. Yeah, he's made his career in the army, right? All of this has happened after he got lucky when he killed that giant. And now he's a threat to the throne. You might have heard that even my son is already saying that perhaps David should be king instead of him. Well, that is ridiculous. Not only that, it's dangerous. It's wrong. I've got to be rid of this guy. Sir, but he's very faithful. He's a brilliant commander. He's your best. Sir, he's brilliant. And now he's your son-in-law. Sir, I don't think he's after your throne. Abner, I don't think you can judge that. I know he is. I know he is. And you're going to have to trust me here, Abner. I want to be... Now, I'm not asking you to kill him. No. The Philistines will do it for us. I want you to put him on the edge of the battle, just front line. Pull the other soldiers back. Let David just be out there on his own. Do that a few times. Dangerous situations. The Philistines will take care of him. One day he's just not going to come back. Okay? Abner? Sir, if you insist. Yes, I insist. And Abner, I'll reward you well. I'll reward you. I appreciate this. It's important. Yes, sir, as you wish. And so David gets put into all these very dangerous situations. I mean, just crazy situations, really. But Scripture tells us God's protection is over David. I mean, he is just incredible. He wins every fight. He's victorious every time. He's fast, he's quick, but he also understands where he should be, where he should not be. It is just amazing. So his fame just grows and grows. His star rises. The whole of the country, all 12 tribes, everybody's heard of David, the king's son-in-law, who's the commander in the army. He's just brilliant. And the people are so happy because we win over the Philistines every time. There was a time where we lost all the time, but now we're winning the whole time. Wow, that is pretty good. The Philistines, yes, they are in need of recovery. So they decide to leave the Hebrews alone for a while. And they're kind of licking their wounds over there in their cities. Abner is quite pleased about this. It gives him a chance to get some things reorganized, to do some further training with his soldiers, to build some more weapons, and study the future, this kind of thing. And David is very happy to have a little time off because he can spend time with his new wife. He and Michal are getting to know each other. They are beginning to really communicate, and really good. It's great to have a little time together, and just sort of take a little time off. And then one day, there's a knock on the door. David is going to come to the king's workroom and play music. What? Oh, no. What? Play music? The king wants him there immediately. Oh, no. Michal, do you hear that? Yeah, Michal hears it. What are we to do? Well, if the king says you got to come, you got to come. You can't say no to the king. You know how that is. Hey, maybe let me come with you. We'll go together. And I'll keep an eye on my dad, and that'll be okay. Then we can do it together. Okay, so David grabs his instrument, and together they walk across the field to the king's house and go into the king's workroom, and David begins to play. Now, he's a very accomplished musician. He doesn't need to look at the strings or at his hands. He can play beautifully, even eyes closed. He's done hours of that. But this time round, he's not closing his eyes. He's keeping an eye on the king out there and the javelin, and he is just going to keep a very close eye on what that king is going to be doing. Now Saul is over here, leaning up against the wall, looking out the window, and he's talking to himself. Well, I told you, if you make me king, then you're going to have to trust me and let me get on with it. Yeah, you can't just make me king and then take it back and then take it back and then you have this, you have that. It looks like Saul is letting slip of his Samuel rant. It's kind of slipping into his workroom now. He is fighting Samuel there, it seems. Now Michal has also come into the room. She crosses the room to the other side, and she takes the javelin that stands here in a stand, and she picks it up, and she begins to walk toward the exit there. If she can take this javelin out the room, that'd be a whole lot better. And then, put that back! Put it back, I say. Okay, here. I've put it back. Okay, don't touch it again, ever. Now, Michal, go get me Abner. Abner? Where do I find Abner? Where do I find Abner? Wouldn't he be in the barracks? Go get him for me. Hurry up. Okay. And so Michal is headed for the door. And she goes to David like, I'm sorry, David. I tried to be helpful, but it's not working. David is distracted for a moment looking at Michal. In that moment, Saul has taken the javelin and throws it at David. Now David, it's just seen it coming. He jumps off and falls to the ground. The javelin just misses him and slams into the wall over there. Oh, my Lord. And David is out the door. Michal is also out the door. The two get out the house. It's dark. They cross the courtyard and get into their house and quickly lock the door and bolt it. My God. Oh, he did it again. Oh. And Michal says, I have never seen him like that. That is just unbelievable. He really wants to kill you. David, I don't think you can even stay here. He's probably going to send soldiers this way. They're going to grab you. They're going to try and kill you. He wants you dead. David, you get out right now. Get out. Run for your life. And so David does. He runs upstairs, opens a window, climbs out, and he gets out of the house. The house is built right up against the wall, so he can jump right on the other side of the wall, and he's away in nature. Runs into the dark, into the night. Well, that very moment, knocks on the door. Soldiers bang on the door. Open the door. Now, Michal is very sharp, and she is able to keep her head together. She's got a little idea. While the soldiers are banging on the door, there in the downstairs, there's a fireplace over there. She organizes something that looks like a bed by the fireplace. And she's got this quilt, and then she puts a bunch of cushions underneath it. She's got this bag with goat's hair. She puts that at the head, and after a little maneuvering, it looks just like there's a person lying there under the quilt. Then she goes to the door, and she begins to open the door, but as slowly as she can. And these soldiers, David is going to come. David, the king wants David. He's got to come. Yeah. She said, hang on now. She said, he is not well. Shh, be quiet. He's got a fever. I mean, it could be contagious. Tell the king he'll see him in the morning. And she's trying to close the door. And they say, well, where is he then? Over there by the fireplace. Shh, be quiet. Look, you can see him there. Yeah, they see him there. Okay. He's lying there on the floor. He is sleeping now. Leave him. Just go. And she gets them out the door and she closes the door. Now these soldiers, they're confused. David is very loved in the court, in the country. David is very trusted. I mean, he's a top commander. He's the king's son-in-law. He's high up. No soldier would want to go and arrest David. That's just unheard of. That's impossible. Besides, David is an incredible fighter. You wouldn't want a fight with David. Absolutely not. So these soldiers are like, why does the king want him? Why not deal with it in the morning? So they go back to the king to report. David is not well. He's sick in bed. The king is ballistic. Oh, yeah, you get me. And just get me David. I mean, if need be, get him in his bed. Bring him here. The king is beside himself with fury. So the soldiers go back to the house. They're banging on the door, banging on the door. Michal takes her time. She slowly takes her time. She takes it. Then she kind of makes a little noise on the door. Yeah, I'm opening the door, but she takes her time. And there's another bolt. Yeah, not yet. Yeah, almost. Not yet, almost. Finally, she opens the door. She says, shh. He's finally fallen. Yeah, we got to go get him. And then a couple of soldiers actually push the door open, and they walk into the room. They're going to get David in his bed, and then they realize they've been tricked. There's no David there. So they drift back to the king to report what they've just found. Well, the king is spitting poison at them. Go search the grounds. I want David now. Okay, yes, your majesty. And so they go search the grounds. No David. David is gone. David has escaped.